My name is Alfredo Cramerotti. I'm here with Noémie Godal, the artist. We are in Mostyn, the Contemporary Art Museum in North Wales, and it's a very great honor to have you here. And the show, it looks amazing, I have to say. There are a number of elements. There are 2D elements, 3D elements, scenography, architectural almost actually elements in this exhibition. Could you tell us actually how did it come together as an idea for an exhibition?
So I've been working in the last years for actually quite a long time on what we call the history of science. So history of science is basically the way savants and then scientists used to look at the world, and philosophers as well, and thinkers in general used to look at the world. And for me it's amazing that how those visions were so different. Like if you think of the Antiquity, Middle Ages, Renaissance, they changed so much through the ages within the religious context, but also obviously the scientific context. And for me it's a very big source of inspiration, because it's how you can look at the very same landscape within so many different angles. And I'm using that as a platform to build all my, all this big body of work that I've done on history of science.
There is a certain mathematical underline in your sculpture, which is really fascinating to me actually, because usually artists don't go down that route, especially when the manifestation is in 3D actually.
Yeah. It's mathematics, but it's also about, at the time it was about exploration as well, which...
and experimentation.
Experimentation, exactly. So for example, this one, Buridan, was looking at the world as two separate hemispheres. So one hemisphere was made of soil and ground, the other hemisphere was water.
Okay.
And he was looking at it like with the tides going like that.
How they would interact actually.
Exactly, they would get into each other and then out again. So that's why I worked on this. This one was actually quite difficult to understand for me, because they were just one small sketch in a book, but I had to...
you have to extrapolate actually what it meant. Actually.
Exactly.
That's fantastic, that's really great. And there is also an interesting element in the exhibition, which is actually the scenography. And we were actually talking during the installation, and it feels like there are almost two exhibitions in one, because you walk in from a certain direction and you have the 3D sculptures and you see the 2D only on the back, from the back. And then you move around the space and you turn around and you see the 2D actually. How that idea came about, because it's really interesting. I mean, conceptually it's fantastic, but I would like to know actually what would be your take on it.
Yeah, so I'm in my photographic work, I'm really obsessed about the viewpoints, you know, because if you are, as a photographer, you have one viewpoint and that's your shot,
and that's it.
And that's it. So, but within this viewpoint, you have so many layers within the image, and I love to play with those layers and to cover them and destroy them and let a door through and then stopping it again.
There's a lot of retaining certain information and releasing information at some point, and the layering, you can see actually when we go through it, is actually quite significant, because it's very material in the way you set up all the scenography, and it's also very, very visual somehow, because as soon as you turn around, you can see a completely different thing. And so what is the relation between, for instance, the material of the clay, the porcelain and the plasters of the sculpture with the work you do here actually in the 2D? Because this one, they have a very, not a similar approach, but very close, I think.
Completely. In every series or every body of work, I use, I work on a sort of protocol that I set up, especially for the pictures. So I have, I'm working on a subject, for example. Here I was working on this particular series called White Pearls. I was working in the mountains, and I wanted to exist within the landscape that is not necessarily visually
manifest.
This was made of paper. It's paper that I print in my studio. I've taken a photograph of a mountain, and then I print 5 times the same photographs,
Yeah.
but following the optical angle. So
Yeah.
the first one is smaller, and it's I put it next to my camera. The second one is just behind, a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it's
Third
wider
one,
and wider and wider.
exactly. And then what I did is I cut them and curved them. So if I do that, then it works as an anamorphic installation.
Yeah.
And-
Which is fantastic. And it's, I think actually more or less you gave us an idea about what's going on in the exhibition. Last question, the support of the sculpture, which had, for me, they're not really support, that sculpture themselves.
Yeah.
You were telling me yesterday that there is an interesting history in that actually. When you were in residency, you wanted to borrow some of the supports, and they're like, well, you can't take
need
it
them.
because we need them to work actually. So
Yeah.
basically, you've done it again.
Yeah, because those sculptures are like, for me, they are like tools. They are half sculptures, half tools, because they have a purpose to explain a theory. And I thought that those tools somehow needed to be integrated in the work because they continue.
Yeah.
They really continue the, and also they have this, because the porcelain is so perfect, the surface so
Beautiful, yes.
beautiful, and
And the tools are very kind of a scruffy,
Exactly,
and kind of
yeah.
worn out by time, and you have a different element of it.
Yeah.
And it's really a beautiful tension, I think, between the support, which is now sculpture, and the sculpture
And the
itself.
sculpture, yeah.
Because you can see actually the different element of the materials and the different age and the different treatment as well.
Yeah,
they have
yeah,
it,
yeah.
Which is a really beautiful.
It's a little bit like when I treat, when I work on an image, I have inside the image, you can have a lot of things going on. You know, you can have a lot of materiality, like you can see the paper, you see the tape, you see the ropes, and you see those details. And then the frame is like the structure.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much, Memi.
Well, thank you.
So
Thank
the
you.
show is opening tomorrow officially, and is going on until September 2024, the 7th of September. So it's a fantastic exhibition, not only because you're here, I'm saying, because it's really superb. And thank you again.
Well,
actually,
thank
for
you so
having
much
that.
for the invitation.